you have kids that go on to Harvard from a bad high school or I shouldn't say a bad high school. I should say an
underprivileged.
So the school you went to was underprivileged? Underperforming?
I went to public
Sorry.
school.
Double check.
You had a full spectrum of everything, you know.
Got it.
So
it wasn't private school.
It wasn't private.
It was definitely underperforming.
We back. Another week. Another J, another Emerald. What are you today, bro?
Emerald,
bro.
yeah.
Another J, another.
I'm a precious
another
gem.
precious stone or gem. What are you
Precious
today?
gem,
Diamond?
bro.
Okay. Hi, Jay Diamond. Oh, bro, remember? Oh, you weren't here last week, Reyes, or a couple weeks before that. We're gonna bring a stripper pole for Jay Diamond.
Whoa.
Bro, you
And he's
still on
gonna
that?
We already ordered it.
Dude,
What?
you lost the bet. The bet was,
You know what?
The bet was you now have to dance on the stripper
All right, so
pole.
how about this? I'll do
Oh.
after you bring the turkey for the holidays.
The turkey?
What?
Yeah,
I like
you
that.
gotta- I mean, you could cook, you could throw down.
We'll do like a Friendsgiving.
You do that, I'll show you how to flip on the pole.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Where's this taking place, man?
The Friendsgiving?
You really want to go to that too?
Yeah.
See this guy flip on the pole.
Yo, what's up, my peoples? Jelly, I love you. See, last week you came with the wrong sweatshirt. This week you came with the right sweatshirt, bro.
He got the message. He got the message.
Las Águilas
The Eagles did a
bro.
sweep.
You finally got a sweep. You finally got a winning team.
Yeah, but they're actually
CA.
losing in the real league.
Yeah, I know. They went
damn.
back to DR, started losing.
Yo, Reyes,
Yo,
it's like you're definitely a regular now.
I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row, man.
You got the check?
You guys will be receiving an invoice.
That's
No. First of all, I think we should charge you, bro.
For real.
You asked him to come, Jay.
My
I didn't
check
ask him.
bounced.
I see him show up at
I
the
went to
studio.
cash in
I'm
my check.
assuming.
I need some.
Yeah. I gotta talk to whoever's running the finances in this pot, man.
Yeah,
My check bounced.
Nobody's getting paid. All right, so guys, let's get to it, bro. Let's get to it. So, Jay and a couple of us were having a conversation about, what. Damn, I forgot how I said it, bro, in the pre-show meeting.
Something to do with.
No, I got it. What is a bigger influence when raising kids, right? Is it what you teach them at home? Or is it the environment, like the schools they go to, the neighborhoods that they grow up in, right? So, a lot of people say, I could go either way because they say, oh, if you send your kid to a bad school, right? Like people say, oh, that's a bad school. That's a bad high school. Like, especially if you grew up in New York City, like your zone school, oh, that's a bad school. You try to get into another school. And then, you have kids that go on to Harvard from a bad high school or I shouldn't say a bad high school. I should say an
Underprivileged.
underperforming, not underprivileged, an underperforming school, right?
Okay.
Like, so they say, well, if you teach them the right foundations at home, they go to any school, they're gonna get, they're gonna do what they got to do. But then there's an argument out there that 10% is what you teach them at home and 90% is their environment. What do you think?
I don't know. Where you got that research from?
You sent it to me.
Yeah, you put me at the same. He's like, where you
I
got
got
that?
it too.
I mean, like, did I got? He's like, did I? Did I?
So what do you think? Jelly, go. Because they never let you talk, so.
I don't know, man. It's tough because, I mean, I try to apply the environment that I was brought in, and it wasn't, in terms of my outside environment, it wasn't the prettiest. Walking to school, see needles on the floor, people dealing crack on the corner, and then at home, the best upbringing that I could have hoped for. And I was around a lot in that type of environment. We play basketball, play baseball in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that my trajectory or where I'm now, I didn't let that influence me. And, and I say that it's because of the upbringing that I had with my parents, the relationship I had with my family. We used to hang out and it was like me and my closest friends and my cousins. That's pretty much it. And it was a very small circle. Like I didn't let like the people, and I have tons of friends that, did things that, I didn't do. And, some of them are well off and some of them are not.
They were drinking a little Henny.
That's all right, though.
Nothing wrong with a little Henny.
Yeah, a little-
So
little
like
Henny.
me looking at it from how I grew up is different to what it is now, because now there's so much different outside sources. You have social media, pointing you this way. now with the school system trying to teach kids about different, it's okay to feel this
Don't
way.
get canceled, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm saying.
Don't
I-
get
Can we
canceled.
please disclaimer?
I'm saying,
Do we have
yeah,
a disclaimer for
there
this
should be a
one?
disclaimer.
They're putting it out there. Oh, it's okay if you feel this way, and
Right.
these kids are 4, 5, 6 years old, and it's like, is that the right way to
Right.
kind of put that into a kid's mind?
So the school you went to was underprivileged,
Underperforming.
underperforming.
I went to public
Sorry,
school.
double
and
check.
You had a full spectrum of everything.
Got it.
So
So it wasn't private school
it wasn't part.
It was
Got it.
definitely underperforming.
in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
I think
okay.
you went to private school.
I mean, my first elementary school was public.
Stop trying to be gangster,
Oh,
bro. Like,
whoa,
bro.
Pero bueno,
You're about to go like
From
8 Mile with Eminem, bro.
elementary-
You went to
No,
elementary-
because
you
we're
went to
trying
private
to get to
school.
the bottom of
Right,
something
right,
here,
right.
right? Because then, if that's the case, right, what Jelly just said, 90% of his success came from what happened at home,
right.
and 10% came from school. But if you leave
That's why it's
that
a good
important
debate.
detail of I went to
True.
private school,
True. So,
that changes the debate, doesn't it?
It's like a rapper
doesn't
that
it
just
change
got
the
got,
debate?
right?
but still,
Oh, no.
He did,
to
he
this
did.
day, I
Or
still,
the environment.
I still have, and I have very close friendships with people that I went to school with in elementary school. That was a public school,
Okay.
and then then I went to.
But you have fuck ups that went to really good private schools.
Yeah, of course.
So again, this is not a clear cut debate. Jay,
Listen,
what do you think?
I'm a
But
product of the environment.
Are we
baby.
talking about what's happening today? Because I think it's two different.
Yeah, it's two
I don't
different-
even think it's
well,
different though.
No.
I don't.
It's a lot. Ray,
I don't think it's
Ray,
different.
Ray, you get
What would, imagine you? Well, you're like 14 years old,
Yeah,
Right.
but Ray's a different species.
but imagine us back in the day with iPhones and smartphones.
I had sidekick, bro. I mean, listen, I had a sidekick.
But no,
and
but
I had a
I'm
two-way
saying that
pager.
all you're seeing is like these DMs and
Well, so then,
these-
The DMs were hot.
yo, bro, those AIM chat rooms were lit, bro. But anyway, so what I'm saying is then that's not, I guess it becomes your environment, but that's not your physical environment because you could be raised in the greatest household, right? With your parents and, they're good role models. You could go to
Mhm.
great schools and then you could be on some crazy social media banger. Like, you could be like in these crazy social media environments.
You're a Twitter gangster.
Right. It's not Twitter anymore. Your ex, whatever.
Oh,
right. But you could be on Instagram and you could be talking to like, I mean, shit. Now you got terrorist groups, right? Like you got people that they talk about terrorism, right? So that becomes now, I guess that's where there's the difference where now you got to worry about your digital environment, right? Of the digital environment of kids that is not as easy to identify as like, yo, I saw you on the corner, rolling up or doing whatever,
True.
right? I mean, Reyes, so you have kids, right? You decided to take them away from their home environment to private school. So, what made you make that decision?
I mean, a lot, obviously. I mean, the school played a big role. I mean, we want to keep our children with a religious component,
Right.
and the school really values that highly. The people, the talent, and again, just getting them out of the environment that I was kind of brought up in, right?
Right.
My parents didn't have the resources to send me to a private school, right? So like Jelly, grew up in the Heights. I would come down the stairs. I walk over.
No, he grew up in the Heights.
You said like jelly.
Oh no,
No,
like
like
you.
Jelly. I grew up.
It was more like Jelly,
Comma.
comma. You wanted to say
Now he's an
comma.
English major.
He
now.
wanted you to put a pause.
I will always
Right.
shout out the lower.
No. Jelly is from Lower East Side, everybody.
Yeah.
But like Jelly, I grew up in an very unsafe environment. Made mistakes, bad influences. Obviously, thank God, knock on wood, we were able to obviously overcome that. But the one thing is that we try to kind of keep consistent with our kids is, hey, this is how you behave at home. This is how you behave in
Right.
school. And if whatever sacrifice I need to make for that, we're going to do it. You know what I mean?
So you're giving, you're agreeing to a certain extent with a lot of it. Maybe let's not put percentages to it now, but a lot of the upbringing comes from outside of the home, right? So there's that outside influence, right?
The
That
educational
environment.
institute.
Well, listen, where you spend most of your time is what's
Right.
going to impose the most influence on you. So where do the kids spend most of their time?
I agree.
Right, wherever they spend their time is what they're gonna become, right?
I mean,
so
but
that's kind of like the way I see
I
it.
could see where I could see where Reyes comes from, because I think that probably about 40% of the day children are spending time away from home.
Probably
if
more.
if not more than that, right?
Yeah.
And then how much of that time is also actually being spent at home in a way that you communicating with the children.
Right.
Maybe 2-3 hours out of the day before they go to bed, right? To have dinner and stuff like that, because parents are coming home. So I could see both of being a balance, right? I think that the school or the environment, the area that you live in, like your zip codes, like the social demographic status of where you plan to raise your family, does have a direct influence into the upbringing of the children's lives. But not entirely, because
Let
you
me
do
end
have
the debate, bro. I'm gonna end it right now. I'm
you,
gonna end
you-
it.
but
End
no,
the
you do have
debate.
those fuck ups. You do have those fuck ups
Yeah,
that
you got-
trust fund babies,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That end up being, they go to jail and they make fucked up decisions, right? But I do believe that to an extent, your environment does shape your decision making process in the children's lives. But the home also has a major influence as well.
Here's my opinion.
I think it's a balance,
And it's
50-50.
an opinion. I don't think it's 50-50. I think it's 90-10 backwards. I think it's 90% home, 10% your environment, and here's why.
Wow.
You mentioned the trust fund baby, right? But if we go if it's about quality time, you say we spend 80% of your time in schools, right? And 10% at home, 90% at home, 20% at home. But it's the quality that you're giving them at home.
Yep.
Are you having dinner with them together? Are you asking them about their day? Are you saying, are you talking about, what's wrong, what's good? Are you involved as a parent? Just because my kid's in school all day doesn't mean that I'm not going to know what the hell's going on.
But you can
in
do
school.
all of that.
But hold on. And then, so that influence of me being on top of my child, whatever. And yes, they can be influenced. Some,
One bad
sometimes-
apple.
Right. They can be easily influenced. Like, let's say but I think it's less likely. Let's say there's a really good friend, right? But that really good friend may have different views or opinions because at their home, they're not getting the support that they should be getting, right?
Mhm.
And then let's just flip it then. Let's say the trust fund baby. Let's say the parents are really successful. They're never around. They never talk to them. They are always traveling on business or whatever the case is, right? They could pay for the really expensive school, but can they have a 20-minute dinner with them, right? So then, then that becomes a coke sniffing trust fund baby, right? Like, do you know what your kid is doing when the door of the room is locked at 10% of the time that they're in your house, right? So I feel like, yes, the environment has an influence. It does influence, right?
But you're saying 10%, I think it's
No,
way more than that.
and here's why, and I'll double down, because the thing is that sometimes is on purpose, right? Sometimes is like purposeful neglect, like whatever. I don't have the time for my kids. I never wanted kids, whatever. But sometimes it's just, I gotta work 12 hours and I can't be there to be able to give my kid a better life, right? And then a lot of times you hear the story a lot. Like, oh my God, how are you gonna do this to me? I worked 14-hour days, and well, mom, dad, I didn't want you to work 14 hours a day. I wanted you to go take me to the movies one day.
All right, so
Like,
you know how we're gonna end this debate right now?
stop it. Don't do research on Google and then come at me with some shit.
I'm just gonna say
He's
one
going
thing.
back.
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give
He
you
found
two.
it.
I'm gonna give you two. Just one thing. Zip codes. What's the reason somebody will buy a home in 11729 as opposed to 11368?
Yo, I'm from 11368, bro.
And
So
where you ended up at?
it doesn't matter.
But
I understand. Again, there is something to an environment.
But it's more than 10% then.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
This
As a matter of fact, I want to go 99.9% on
Here
what
we
you
I
do
don't know,
at
man.
home.
You just not you're
Yeah,
not
no.
allowing yourself to be convinced, man.
He's
Yeah,
not.
Like you
I-
just
I'm not saying like I since I started earlier when I started commentating, I really feel that my household, my parents, my brothers really shaped me in a certain way, but I wouldn't say it's 90.
Yeah, whatever. Don't put a number. Just say it's more important. Agree with me, bro.
Yeah, no, it is, to me it's more
I
important.
think
Don't
we're
agree.
all in sync. It's just the fact that you're like, yo, it's not. It's definitely.
I think
But
it's
then
way more
again,
important. I think it's way more
But then
important.
again, the times that we're in now, it's tougher.
And also keep in mind, right? Right now, you're thinking as a 40-year-old man.
What the fuck? I ain't 40, bro.
But take
you trying to
yourself,
say?
yo, take
I'm
yourself
saying
back.
you guys are 40.
Guys,
not me.
look, take yourself back during your teenager years when you really were not having those quality. I mean, yeah, you were having quality conversations with your parents, but there was times in which like, yo,
I can't tell my
they
brother.
don't understand this.
I
Like,
can't tell my mother this.
Of course, that's
my
gonna
pops is
happen.
telling me not to watch BET, bro. I was looking at Nelly, yo, shake
Damn,
your
why
tail
was he-
feather.
oh.
You know what I mean? Like, come on.
I used to watch
I
BET
didn't,
a
I
lot,
didn't understand why they didn't want me to watch hip hop videos, you know, at that point. But as I got older, I'm like, I
well, that's where I'm at with my kids right now. Like I think the environment is big. So the music now, I think really defines what is an acceptable decision
Bad
and what
Bunny.
is not. You know?
Yeah, but
So the music is crazy right now, right? And I try to really protect my daughters from these you know, literally, I'm like, what the hell did she just say? Like, I'm like, wow, that's aggressive.
Oh, like
You know?
like wet ass.
Ice Spice.
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, it's unbelievable. And
I
I'm
know,
like,
it's
all
crazy.
right, well, all this is becoming like
yeah,
acceptable norms in our society.
Man. That's exactly
where
what it is.
now I'm like, oh shoot, you know, I gotta be very careful. Me growing up, what we used to listen to, Nas, Jay-Z, right?
Man, I
we
was
used
living.
to listen to
I'm not gonna
a
lie. I
different
was
type
into
of music,
Juvenile back then too. Girl,
I
you
used to
look
like
good.
Juvenile.
you know, different things like
Yeah.
that. So these things do affect your decision making. At
Absolutely.
the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do for our kids is impact their decision making, right? Because
Yeah,
your
you don't
decisions
wanna do
define your
overkill.
life. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
You don't want to do overkill, and I catch myself like sometimes in the car we have Bad Bunny and you hear something, "Si tu no, you know that," and I'm like, oh, and then I'm,
See, tú no,
and I'm like,
you turn it off, or
but
you
you know,
do
but,
it?
but
You
then,
try to skip.
No, but
You
then
try
again,
to skip. Got it.
I try, but then again, I'm like, they still listen.
They're gonna
to
listen to
They-
it.
they-
I mean, that's the
in
debate
their-
me and my wife were having the other
So
day.
it's like,
I mean,
We
you
were
know,
having that debate the
I-
other day. Should we listen to letter? And that's what she said. She said, "Well, you listen to
but
to
then
Bad Bunny in the car. You know what he's saying?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, you know what?"
Yeah, but
But they don't speak Spanish as much, you know.
Yeah,
And,
but then,
Trust
but
me,
then,
they-
but
you
then,
know,
they know
but
in
then they
school.
know,
but then
yeah.
here's the thing. But then here's the thing, right? When you said you prepare them to, you try to influence their decision making, right? And I wouldn't
Especially
probably
kids.
use influence, right? But you try to give them the tools
To
to try to make the right decision,
Correct.
or what you consider to be the right decision,
Correct.
right? So I know that the songs are probably crazier now, but they were crazy back then, bro. They were talking about slinging dope. They were still talking about
Correct.
shit,
It's
right? Like,
fine, yeah.
but you always came back. I know me personally, like I could rap about XYZ and say, yo, you know, I mean, you had songs talking about murdering dudes, walking straight up to dudes like, oh yeah, I shot this dude, shot whatever. You know you weren't gonna do that, right? Because you have a foundation of right versus wrong, right?
But
That's where
again-
the home comes in.
But again, the environment
Yeah.
plays a major role
It
because
plays
Correct.
a role.
The
It
environment
plays a
plays a
role.
role.
a major role, right?
Yeah.
I think that you're undermining the importance of
environment, dude.
where you're at. Look, I'm all in with the quality, right? The attention, being
I
able
think
to
it plays a
develop
role.
that great, strong relationship. But you definitely undermining when you're saying it's not as important. I think it's
I never said that. I never said that.
But by saying
Said it
10%,
99%, bro. You say
exactly.
you ready to go
All right.
99%.
He was
Like, I'm being generous. I
99.9.
said
Yeah,
10%.
99.9. Like, dude, that's.
I said I want to say 99.9, but I think it's 90-10. Because the argument.
Oh, now he's going back 90-10.
Well,
By
no.
the time we're done with this,
That's
you'll
what
be
I
at
said
50-50.
90. No, 90-10
He's
because
starting to.
I know,
allow
Ray, he's
himself
never gonna go
to
no,
be
no,
persuaded.
because the
Don't be
argument,
stubborn, bro. Just
was
go, bro.
no, because because dude, I'm an entertainer here, bro. The
Okay,
argument,
copy it.
the argument
Copy it.
is, the argument is.
Were you a host?
Sorry,
entertainer.
Yo, Jay Diamond, hold on.
Uh,
The argument was the video that Jay sent. The guy says 10% is home, 90% is your environment. So I'm saying no. I'm saying it's backwards, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Well, he got
cop
it
out.
wrong. We should
Yeah.
send him a message right now.
Yeah, he had it wrong, but I feel like if we're gonna place more, like let's take away the percentages away, and what holds more weight, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Don't get mad at my opinion, bro. You guys are attacking me here.
mhm.
In my opinion, I feel like the environment is less important than what you are teaching your kids at home.
I think environment is so broad, though, right?
Mhm.
The environment could be school. The environment could
Right.
be not going to school, right? It could be.
Right.
It could be. I'm decided to drop out. I'm gonna hang out on the street corner, right?
Right.
Mhm.
The environment could be being at a dance studio because you want to be a dance. You know, there could be so many different environments
Well, yeah.
where you say the parent thing is very important because you're gonna define the supervision of your child and where they are
Right.
at every moment of the day, right?
Right. I'm just
So-
talking about
but I
home
wouldn't
versus
call it
outside of
99.
home. Home versus outside of home. We're not
But
saying school
outside
either.
of home is
You
broad.
can't, but
you
outside
guys-
of home, you don't have any control, bro.
Guys,
Like, this is what
again,
I'm trying to tell you.
the debate stems from the guy in the video who says 10% is home, 90% is your environment, where you live, who your neighbors are, what schools
Correct.
they go to. So I'm saying I disagree. I think and it's a case in point. Like when you could have neighbors where one's a fuck up and one is not, and then more times than not is because one was getting more attention in the home than the other. Like I was being called in at, yo, bro, sundown or whatever, 6 p.m. You got to be home. The other parents were like, all right, as long as you get home, or like not even noticing if the child is home, right?
What were the consequences? A fuetazo? Or what happened?
Exactly. 100% a fuetazo, bro.
Date quieto.
Un tate quieto.
Date
Right.
quieto, yeah.
So I'm just, I feel that what the foundation helps you deal with the environment. You could put me into any environment and my core values are going to be there. Let's inverse it then. Can my environment change my core values?
No.
Maybe they can.
I think they could.
But they're very rare. Then they're not really reinforced because you are who you are.
It
bro.
depends.
You
But
put
it
me
also
wherever
depends
you
on
put me.
what phase in your life we're talking about.
Bro,
right?
it's foundational values. It's foundational values I'm
All
speaking
right,
of.
but I get it. But the foundational
Today,
values.
you make decisions today based on
But
what
the
the values that you were taught when you were growing up.
Correct, but what I'm also saying, it depends on what phase in your life is, because when the mindset of a 30-year-old is different than the mindset of a 20-year-old.
Doesn't mean
Yeah,
they
but
can't make
I
mistakes.
think we're
Doesn't
talking
mean they
about
can't make mistakes.
raising your kids from the get. So
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're gonna make mistakes.
When you're 30, that's
Whether you get
different
the best, right? You could get the best home upbringing and still make mistakes.
of course.
But then it'll be easier for you to know that you fucked up
Yeah.
if you have a foundation, right? Like,
and especially you get called out for it too.
Right.
Like, I didn't raise you that way.
right. Yeah, you hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't raise you that way.
Mhm.
Did your father do you see your father doing that? I see my mom telling me, did you see your father come in and
The
at 4
smart
in the
answer
morning,
should be like,
piss drunk?
I was not with you at all times, Dad. So I didn't get to see what you were doing.
The end of the day, man, I mean, listen, it really comes down to the situation that child is in, right? As a parent, sometimes there's resources, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's the ability to do certain things, sometimes there's not. I know us all as parents, right? We're trying to go a level higher. Our parents maybe did not have the time to put into us the way we're doing with our children, right? So now the environment plays a heavier role.
I guess to Jelly's point, maybe I'll agree with that statement a little bit more, that there are different times, so the environment may have some more influence.
Yeah. So now you're being,
sure.
now you're kind of quote unquote being raised by potentially where you're spending a lot more of your time in.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's, school or whatever.
Man, listen, I think that you just
And it's
nailed it right there.
competitive too now. 'Cause you see these kids now, it's like, oh, this person has this person has that. You got the new, and even when I was growing up, all the kids had, the new Jordans, and
Of course.
But now it's like on a
It's crazy.
Oh,
thousand.
You got
Oh my
girls being like freshmen in high school going with Louis Vuitton bags, like Chanel. I'm like, Chanel. That I was like, yo, that's fake. Don't worry about it. That shit is not real.
You don't want to spend that money.
Shit is not real. Let me go.
That's why the checks are bouncing.
So let me ask you guys a question. Let's say something goes down, right? Like, let's say you're in school, right? Fight breaks out for whatever reason. Does every person in that environment react to that fight the same way?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? What do you think is influencing the decision making of the kid? Like, am I gonna jump in and fight, or am I gonna jump in and bully? Or like, if somebody's bullying around me, am I gonna jump in and bully? Who jumps in and bullies versus who doesn't jump in and bully? Like, I feel that the foundation value that you were given is what's gonna
answer that question.
Right.
For you.
Yeah.
Yep.
more times than not.
Mhm.
It's not because I'm in an environment of a bunch of bullies in school,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be a bully, for example, right? I mean, yes, we could talk about social pressures, we could talk about peer pressure, right? 1,000%, which is why you could make mistakes.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, right? Like, in my opinion, the value that you have from home is what you're gonna take. Now, if there's lack of value, like or if somebody teaching you something, then you're gonna get it from your environment. right? If my parents not telling me how to react to a certain situation, and I'm seeing Jay and how he reacts, well, I guess that's the way shit is.
But
right?
a lot of it, you could start looking at that like from the inception of life. Like, so start thinking about the phases of life, right? So if you're a teenager parent, right, your mindset is not what it should be when you're someone who's professional having a child, right? So if you have a child at the age of 16 as opposed to another person who's having a child at the age of 30, and then you see the person that at 16 had a kid, was a high school dropout, and then you have the person in the 30s who's a professional, right? Their mindsets are different. So the level of quality of time, the way that they're going to prioritize the upbringing of their children is going to be different, right? So the teenager probably will be neglecting the child as opposed to the 30-year-old is going to be giving everything to that child in terms of quality, right? But again, it will not be the determinant outcome of that child success later on in life, right? But it does place an advantageous step up for the parent who's a professional one, because it's already giving them like that second or third step up as opposed to the one that has a teenager child. So I think that in terms of the upbringing, I agree with you. I think that the foundation can be strong at home, but ultimately the environment does shape the child later on in life. So.
Yo, you went on a tangent and you got Jay going to Instagram, bro.
Yeah.
Damn, Jelly.
That's crazy.
Yo, Jelly, don't fall asleep on me, man.
Because the teenager, and then he's like,
I need you to
No,
follow
but,
me,
his,
man.
but his
I
point
got
is
you,
valid.
bro.
But the thing is, like, as a teenager parent, you might not have, now you got to get yourself to work to support this kid when you're you probably wasn't ready to do that.
But again, you guys are talking about environment at home.
But that is the environment. At the end of the day, environment's
It's home,
environment.
though.
Whether it's home,
Mhm.
whether it's, I think you're totally wrong. Actually, I think it needs to be environment.
No, but that's
So
not
you're
what
more
we're
than
talking-
90%
but that's not the
environment,
thing.
10% household?
he's
We're
talking-
debating what somebody asked, so I can't be wrong if you're gonna throw out the foundation of the debate, right? Which is someone said, you got to find who it is. It's it's 90% the outside environment as opposed to 10% your home environment. If you want to change the question and say environment as a whole, then there's no argument here.
Oh shit! Duh.
Because it's like
He's right.
It's like 10% at home versus 90%. I'll invert. I'll go as far as inverting it. You guys say probably 50-50. I think that there could be I think you can get influenced by your outside, but I feel like if your foundation is strong, what your parents are teaching you at home is strong, there's probably less probability of your outside environment influencing you.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Jay.
I'm doing the research, bro. I'm trying to find the guy's name. But anyways, he was a psychologist. I mean, for me, I think it's a 50-50. I think that is a mix-up,
me see if I
between
can find
the
it.
household and the environment, whether it's school, externally. So that's my final thoughts.
My final thoughts.
Bro, we got 20 minutes left. What are you talking about, final?
But I go with it's like if you set your core values straight, no matter what the situation is outside, that's gonna dictate your how can I say it, like your decision making process, so that in a way that you don't put yourself in harm's way. If you see something's wrong and your parents brought you up saying, look, this is wrong, this is not the path I want you to take, more than likely that's the path. You're gonna set yourself up to kind of put blockers that would put you in a place where you don't go into those situations.
Reyes.
Trying to find
50-50, 90-10.
thing. Here it goes. I found it if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah, let's play it. Just play it.
See.
Play it on the mic.
By where you chose to live, than by anything you will ever do inside that home.
Restart it.
Short of abuse, neglect, or malnutrition,
Yeah.
it's just trivial variation.
All right,
It's where you live. Why? Because out-of-home influences are more powerful in shaping the life course of your child than in-home influences are. And those out-of-home influences are peer groups, other adults,
where'd he get his PhD?
neighborhoods, resources, schools, and the larger community that you made available to this child. That is how you shape your child's life course. The second biggest influence.
That's coming
is
from
also
white
out of your
privilege
hands, and that's
in my
genetics.
point of view,
And
bro.
you don't get to determine that.
Because
Now, do not mistake what I am saying. The knowledge your child possesses.
I think listen, you can't disagree with what this.
I disagree.
What the hell's his name?
I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I mean, to cause this kind of spirited debate, I think ultimately the man is right, man. I mean, where you're gonna spend your time most is where you're gonna be influenced the most.
That's
just the bottom line. I mean, you're gonna, you can come home and your parents are gonna bust your chops and punish you and whatever, have a form of discipline if you make, bad decisions. But at the end of the day, once you leave that home, you're gonna be kind of like subject to, as a child, the influences that are around you, right? I think there's only but so much of a shell that you have that protects you from outside influences. That's just about. I mean,
if this this was a science, like if we were scientists, I could probably walk 30 people here to disprove everything that you just said. Because
scientists,
if we were
want to do a focus group,
if we had to do a focus, because your debate, your position, right, your hypothesis,
I like that word,
gets or your conclusion. Sorry. Your conclusion.
I mean, you're going to do a scientific debate.
Espérate, hold on.
Your
conclusion. You begin with a hypothesis. Mm-hmm. Your conclusion is wrong because if what you're saying is right, that means everyone in the same environment has the same outcome. Everybody that goes to X high school because it's a messed up high school or a good high school becomes successful. Everybody who grows up in 11368 is not going to do anything in life because they grew up in 11368, right? And that is not the case.
But again, look,
hold on. I'm not finished. That's not the case.
That's a good point.
Because, and then everybody who grows in your building, oh, yo, that's a fucked up building. They sell drugs downstairs. They got hookers in the stairs.
The probability is that you probably will be successful if you were brought up in a good environment.
But what we're discussing here is what happens after you leave the stairs of that building and you go into your individual door and what your parents are telling you and what your brothers are doing and what your parents' friends are doing, right? Because he talks about, what that, to your point, it's all environment, but what that environment that you don't choose, right? That your parents choose for you, right? What are they doing or what are you learning from them to help you react to everything else?
So, okay, the way that you see things, to my understanding, is more like your parents base the foundation, the environment is the enforcer, more or less.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
All right. So
what he's saying is, your parents. Your
parents
base a foundation,
yes.
And out of your foundation, you become the enforcer to deal with the surroundings you're in.
But
Boom.
Again,
that's it,
bro. The environment can become such a major influence.
I'm not saying it can't.
Right?
It
so
can.
This is
100% it can.
Exactly. So it's like, all right, if you were brought up or if you live in an environment, right, that's a high net worth environment, right? Like let's a good zip code. Let's use Rodeo Drive or Beverly Hills, somewhere around there, right? Let's use Dix Hills. The probability of being successful is probably more likely than someone in an environment in an area called like 11368.
Okay, but
in the zip code like 11368.
But then let me ask.
But that doesn't mean that you cannot be successful if you come out of 11368.
Right, but then let me ask you this. Can it also be the case that people who live in more affluent neighborhoods had a better home environment and that's why they live in more affluent neighborhoods?
Possibly, or they just go to better schools.
Well, no, bro, because
it's a 50-50.
It's not 50-50. I think,
all right, fine.
Obviously,
60-40.
Obviously, there's also there's an underlying conversation here that has to do with race and culture and socioeconomic.
Yeah, this is the whole bunch.
Which we're not gonna go down, right? We're not gonna get into that, right? Because yes, I do believe that there are zip codes or places where you have a higher probability, right, of becoming more successful, right? But also, like, you can't neglect the fact, or you can't neglect the point that those households tend to be more involved. Tend to be, because nothing's 100%, right? But they tend to be more involved, right? More because they were. Let's say you were a product of a good home, right? So you're or let's not label good or bad homes, but let's say you were a product of a home environment that your values, helped you succeed in life. Right, you're probably gonna move into one of these zip codes. So you're probably gonna teach your kids the same way you were taught.
Correct.
Right. So the same way there's vicious cycles negatively, there's also positive cycles. Right. Like if your dad's a fuck up and then you're a fuck up and then your kid's a fuck up and they call that, it's like a vicious cycle. It also plays the other way. So is it the zip code or is it the upbringing? Is it the environment, or do certain people or successful people create successful environments.
Man, listen, bro. I
Yeah,
think that this is a topic that could be
this
so
could go
broad.
down. This could go on
Anyways.
forever. But ultimately, I think that the environment, how busy you keep your children, right? Because if you have a bored child, they're gonna find things to do. They're gonna surround themselves with possibilities that we do not want outcomes for our children. So ultimately, the home starts there, but then at the end of the day, the home is gonna determine how busy you keep that child, what activities that child is in.
What environment you place that child in.
Correct.
But the decision begins on what you said, right? Like, I don't want my kid to be bored. And like think about doing things that they shouldn't be thinking about. Let me put them in dance, right?
Yeah.
Let me put them in this. Let me put them in theater. Let me put them. But you're making that decision to put them in that high performing environment.
But let's just say, I guess you're right. It starts with the home.
Yo,
yo, bro, how do you flip word?
He convinced me.
Bye, Jay. I don't even want to say
Bye,
flip. I
Diamond.
wanna say
I was
Diamond.
convinced. He's right though. It starts at home. He's
All right, flip and lie.
Flip and lie.
that was final thoughts. That's it. Yo, we in the street.
Still 60-40.
Yo, freaking Jay.
50-50,
Jay's hard to
Jay,
convince.
whatever.
Yeah, 50-50.